Today on Fish Species Wednesday, we're gonna talk about one that some of you might not even know exists, and I surely didn't know it existed until like 2 weeks ago. So I thought I would share it. I know somebody requested. I'm blanking out on who did requested a fish for this week. Um, Obviously you know who you are. I'll get to you next week. I just really wanted to share this fish for this week. I thought it was kind of more unique, something we haven't really, probably not a lot of people have seen. So that's why I picked this one first. But yours is gonna be next week. And today we're gonna do I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but I guess the common name is the blue tetra or the Cochus blue tetra. And scientific name, it's in the title, so I have no clue how to pronounce that. I'm not gonna even try. So, but basically, blue tetra, it almost looks like it legit looks like the glow light tetra, but blue. And it's kind of different. Like, here's a picture right here that gets focused. That's basically what they'll look like. But a lot of them will actually get or their main part of their body isn't much, blue, but just the tip or like kind of like the tails are blue. And this is what you're most likely going to see them as. And these right here are most likely going to be the females, and the ones with all blue are going to usually be the males. But usually, if you buy them, they're probably going to look like this. Ones, if you see them all blue, that's kind of rare. It's kind of like this right here. But that's, it's either going to look like that or just, half blue. So, obviously in the name, it is a tetra, so they come from America. They also come from, the South America region. Don't know what type of bodies they come from. I'm guessing, some some type, maybe river, maybe not river, but usually there's a lot of small bodies of water in, the Amazon, South American region. A lot of these fish that we see in aquariums, they're most likely hybrids and stuff, so you can't really say where they come from. I doubt this actually comes from, if this even is out in the wild, I doubt it. But yeah, like here it says main ecosystem, the Amazon River, so true or not, that's what they claim. But this tetra, just like really almost all tetras, not all of them, but most of them are pretty peaceful. These ones are peaceful too. But they're extremely good schooling fish. You don't really hear them a lot, so when people always make like top 5 schooling fish, you never really can mention this one because not a lot of people have really heard of these. But obviously, groups of 6, that's so yeah. So groups of 6, that's kind of a minimum. If you really want to, this fish will school pretty good with 6, but as we all know, anything will school better with more. It's just like neon tetras, like mine. You can see mine don't really swim in a group at all. So if you really want schooling action, I would say 12 to 15, maybe even close to 25, 25. I mean, 20 to 25. That's a little on the high side, especially over 20. But if you really want that cool schooling action, you kind of have to go there. But one thing they are kind of the con of this fish is they're kind of like the beta or tiger barb. They are a little fin nippy. Only it's not so much a colorful fish, it's more like long fins, during feeding time maybe. If they see long fins, they're gonna probably nip at them a little bit, not to the point where they're gonna kill them or harm them that much, but they potentially could do something to your fish. So that'd be just, a warning if you ever do have a fish like this. But yeah, just like I was saying, no, they won't have aggression as long as if you have a big enough tank. And these tetras, they usually need a bigger tank than usual. Most tetras, a group of little tetras could be fine, maybe a 10, 15, 20 gallon. These fish, they need lots of swimming space, and because they'll get very stressed out easily. Not really stressed out. They just like when the tank is too crowded for these fish, they kind of get mad, and then they start going off on fish and just attacking them. So they like a really long space to swim through. So 29 gallon, I would say minimum for this tank. I mean for this fish. So if you're gonna have this tetra, you probably want to have something like I have or something longer, maybe a 33 long. That'd actually be a really good tank for these fish, because especially long ways, they like to swim long ways. They're not much of a height person. But oh yeah, and then the size, males and females, they'll get about the same size, about 2 inches, same size as like a black neon or really a gold light. They're about the same size of any tetra. Most tetras only get 2 or 3 inches, but they don't really get much bigger than that. pH, they like a little bit of low. They probably like more of a lower pH, but if you have a pH of 7 to 7.5, a little higher, and you're perfectly fine. These are very hardy fish. They'll get used to whatever you give them. Now these can be in a little bit colder water, so if you don't have a heater and you have room temperature tank, you can actually have these fish in there without a heater. It'll be okay, as long as it's not like it's cold where you are and the house gets cold. If it's in 72-degree water or 73, it actually will be perfectly fine. But obviously, up in with temperatures more like 78 to 82 would probably be more better, just because they come from that type of water. And the difference between the males and females, for any tetra, a female might have a more rounded body. It's really hard to tell most of the time. You just kind of have to breed them and find out which one is the female and male, or really just find pairs. But and like I said at the beginning, the females will have less coloring. That is a big sign. But for breeding, you're gonna need soft acidic water to breed these fish. The females will deposit their eggs on beneath like plants. So maybe if you have like a floating plant, they might put their eggs below it, up against it, or even like you kind of see like my Anubias over here, like they kind of have leaves. They might like breed from the upper side from the Anubias. Really, basically just the underside of any plant that that's big enough. Anubias is a good example just because the leaves are bigger, or really any fern, maybe Java fern. I doubt Java fern because they kind of like to lay their eggs under like a shade. So I don't know how well Java fern work, but any plant that has big leaves and maybe a floating plant will work just fine if you actually want to breed these and put plants in there. Having plants would be a must if you're trying to breed these though. But after they lay eggs, once you see that they lay eggs, remove the eggs or remove the parents. That goes for any fish, really. So, and obviously, if you don't remove them, it's kind of obvious they will eat the eggs, even though they're their own fry. Fish just eat everything. But let's see if we got anything else we could talk about. Oh, and like I was saying before, they're very hardy, but they will need. It's kind of like what they call them, hill stream roach. They kind of need more oxygenized water, high flow. Um, they like a little more flow in the tank, in which more flow will actually, the more oxygen they're receiving, or the more oxygenized, if that's even a word, the water is, the better they'll show their colors, the more blue they'll get, and that just kind of goes for the water quality too. If the water quality is better, they're gonna show better colors. And also, the right diet. They'll eat anything, flake, live, pellet. they'll eat about everything you give them. You know, just make sure you have a variety of food to feed them, so they have not just eating the same thing all the time. But yeah, I mean, this fish is a great community fish as long as you have, the proper tank. And I think it's something different. I mean, I've seen this fish in like some planet tanks recently, and they look really cool, especially in a school with because the backside's only blue, so when they're schooling, all you see is just like blue tails swimming around. If you look it up on yourself, it looks really cool. But yeah, that's basically goes for the blue tetra. And if you want to recommend fish for it would actually, if you recommend a fish, you'll be in 2 weeks because I have to do somebody else's next week. So if you do recommend something, you will get a shout out. If you don't know that, you'll get a shout out right when the video starts. And yeah, you get a shout out, and then we'll talk about your fish. And same goes for the plants. If you want to recommend a plant, go right ahead. You'll get a shout out in the beginning too. And it just kind of goes like that every week. So comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.